Okay, I'm going to take you through another method to solve 3 equations, 3 unknowns. And this is not a section as such in the book. Okay, so this is just solving 3 equations, 3 unknowns. By matrices. Okay, and some authors will call it augmented matrices. Okay, and solving the 3 equations, 3 unknowns, I'm going to go through an example, and all they will say in the directions is just solve by matrices. And the example we're going to do is x minus 2y plus 3z equals 7. It's x minus 2y plus 3z equals 7. Second equation is 2x plus y plus z equals 4. Third equation is negative 3x plus 2y minus 2z equals negative 10. Okay, double check it. It's x minus 2y plus 3z equals 7. Okay, 2x plus 1y plus 1z equals 4. Negative 3x plus 2y minus 2z equals negative 10. Okay, on matrices, a matrix is just a set of numbers that are arranged in rows and columns. Okay, it's just like you people sitting in here are in a matrix. Okay, you are arranged in rows and columns. And if they are set up where the x's are in one column, the y's are in one column, the z's are in one column, okay, somebody decided it would be much easier to not write those down. Okay, and it actually is easier once you get used to the method. Because the x's are just a placeholder. You know anything in that first column has an x with it. Anything in the second column has a y with it. Okay, so what they do is they will write it, and a matrix has a bracket around it. So they just basically throw out the variables and write the coefficients. So the first row across would be 1, negative 2, 3, 7. And then the second row would be 2, 1, 1, 4. And the next row would be 3, 2, negative 2, negative 10. Okay? Yeah, and if I make an error, you need to catch me, because, yeah. So first row across, double check. Yep, because if you make a copying error, yeah, that can throw the whole thing off. Okay, now what you do is you do what they call elementary row operations, and it's basically we're doing the elimination method, okay, without writing down all the x's and y's and z's. Okay, so I always look in the first 3 columns. I look for any of those that have a 1 in them. And our final answer, okay, our final answer, we want to get down to 1x, 0y, 0z equals some number. Then we want to get 0x, 1y, 0z equals some other number. And then 0x, 0y, 1z equals a number. These rows, like this, but the answer that I've given you here has 1s down the diagonal to the right. But this, like this row could be up here on top. Okay, the rows don't have to be in that order. The rows could be changed. Okay, so we're going to go through this, okay, one step at a time by what they call elementary row operations. If you make good enough notes out at the side, okay, I should be able to track it back. If you made an error, you should be able to track it back. Because your only 2 options if you make an error. And I will tell you, I'm going to be nice on these. All of these will end up to be integers. If you get a fraction, you've made an error. Okay? So I will be nice. They will all be integers. Okay? If you make an error and get a fractional answer, you only have two options. Start over, track it back. Tracking it back is a lot easier. Okay? So, well, I'll take you through this, and I've worked this one way, but I'm going to let you choose a different way to work it. Okay? And then we'll go through it. So, I look for a coefficient of 1 in the first three columns. The goal, and out the side, I want you to write this down. The goal is to get 2 zeros up and down. Our goal is to get 2 zeros up and down in the first three columns. You go for 2 zeros in a column, and you try not to switch columns, and you try not to eliminate a zero that you already got. Okay? So you pick a column that has a 1 or a -1 in it, and try to get 2 zeros up and down by the elementary row operations. So, Joseph, I'm going to pick you. Pick column 1, 2, or 3. Your choice, because they all have 1s in them. Column 1. Okay, and if you either circle that column up and down or highlight it, something, and we want to use the 1 in that column to get a 0. We're going to try to get a 0 here, and then we're going to try to get a 0 here. And if you get really good at it, you can do 2 and 1, but I'm only going to do 1 at a time. Okay? My pre-calc kids will do 2 at a time. It's kind of like name that 2. I can do it in 8 matrices, or I can do it in 4. Okay? Or I can do it in 3. Okay? And you try to get the answer. Okay, so in the first 3 columns. Yep. Yep. So we're going to go for column 1. Joseph, pick column 1. Okay, so it's kind of like the elimination method. So I'm going to say, here's my notes out at the side, and they're very basic. I'm going to say, what can I multiply this by and add it to this to get a 0 there? So multiply by a -2. Okay? The top row stays the same. And you do have to make sure you copy everything the same. Okay, now, this is a lot of mental math. Okay, no, top row stays the same. Okay, multiply that top row by -2 and add it to the middle row. So 1 times -2 is -2 plus 2, and that's our goal, to get a 0 there. Multiply this by -2. -2 times -2, 4 plus 1, 5. 3 times -2, -6 plus 1, -5. -2 times 7, -14 plus 4, -10. Okay? You multiply the top row by -2 and add it to the middle row. Okay? And now I'm going to leave that bottom row the same. And it's another bracket. Now, do not switch. Okay? Do not switch columns, otherwise you end up wiping out zeros that you just got. Okay, so what can I multiply this by so that when I add it to this, and I always want to use addition, I don't do subtraction very well in my head. So multiply by 3, right, and add it. So top row stays the same. The middle row stays the same. Okay, so now multiply the top row by 3, so 3 times 1, 3 plus a -3, 0. Multiply top row by 3, -6 plus 2, -4. 3 times 3, 9 plus a -2, 7. 3 times 7, 21 and a -10, positive 11, positive 11. Okay, Now we have two rows, or two zeros in that first column, up and down. Okay, now you have to look ahead. If I do anything with row 1, if I did anything to this coming down, I just wipe out the 0 I just got. If I do anything with this down, I just wipe out the 0 I just got. So I don't want to do anything with row 1 going down. Does that make sense? Okay, so I need to do something with row 2 and row 3. It's not going to be pretty because there's no 1s in there. So this is where you can use the elimination method. I could eliminate the 5 and the negative 4. I could multiply this by 4, that'd be 20, and this by 5, and that'd be negative 20, and add them together. Or I could eliminate these. Okay, I could multiply by 7 and negative and 5 and eliminate those. Okay, I'm going to go for this column. Okay, it does not matter which one. Okay, so all I'm going to do on this is I'm going to multiply across, and I am going to do both steps on this one. If I multiply across by 4, that would give me 20 there, right? If I multiply by 5, that would give me negative 20. And then on the next step, I can add them together, and one of them is going to drop out. So top row is going to stay the same. Multiply across by 4. So that'd be 20, negative 20, negative 40. Agree? Multiply across by 5, that'd be 0, negative 20, 35, 55. Okay? Now you can add up or down, either way. Jackie, which way do you want to add? Up or down? Up? Okay, so just add up. Top row stays the same. Bottom row stays the same. And she wants to just add them up. So if we add 0 and 0, 0. Negative 20 and 20 is 0. 35 and negative 20. 15. 55 and negative 40. 15, right? Okay. Now, as soon as you get 2 zeros across, you want to divide so that you get a 1. Look up here. To get an answer, we have to have 2 zeros across, and the coefficient has to be a 1. Okay, so come back and divide across. You need this to go to 1. So divide across by 15. Okay, so the top row is going to stay the same. 1, negative 2, 3, 7. Divide across 0, 0, 1, 1. Leave the bottom. Actually, we could go right back on the bottom. Let's make this smaller. Go right back on the bottom. What could we divide this by? 5, and go right back to where we were, right? Go, and you're going to get right back to that. 0, so divide by 5. If you divide this by 5 going across, you have 0, negative 4, 7, and 11. Is that what we had up there? Okay, now here's the other main clue that I can give you on solving these. Once you get 2 zeros across and you get a coefficient of 1, you have an answer. That row will not change from then on, and you have to look at the order. This is 0x, 0y, 1z equals 1. So you have the answer for z. Z equals 1. You have to go back to the order that it was written. 0x, that drops out. 0y, that drops out. Z equals 1. Okay?
Wait, so the second row is Z?
If you go back to the way it was written, this is the x, the y, the z. Okay? So you have 0x plus 0y plus 1z equals 1. So z equals 1. Okay, here's my clue when you're solving matrices. Once you get an answer, I don't care which column you're working on, you automatically, that row does not change, and you automatically use the 1 in that row to get your zeros up and down. We were working on the second column. Okay, I automatically switch as soon as I get a 1. What can I multiply the 1 by and add it up to get a 0 here? -3. So multiply by -3. The answer row won't ever change, so that's going to stay 0. The middle row stays the same. Okay, now multiply 0 times -3. 0 plus 1. 0 times -3. 0 plus -2 is -2. -3 times 1. -3 plus 3. 0. -3 times 1. -3 plus 7. 4. Okay? Bottom row stays the same. Now I'm still using the 1 in that answer row. So what can I multiply by now to get a 0 right here? Yeah, multiply by a -7 and add it. Top row stays the same. 1, -2, 0, 4. Middle row stays the same. Okay, now multiply by -7 and add it. That stays a 0. -7 times 0. 0 plus a -4. -7 times 1. -7 plus 7. 0. -7 times 1. -7 plus 11. 4. Now, as soon as you get 2 zeros across, you have an answer as long as you get this to be a coefficient of 1. So what do you have to divide across by? No. Divide by -4. So top one stays the same. Middle one stays the same. Divide across by -4. 0, 1, 0, -1. Now what answer is that row? Yeah, that's our y, because it's 0x plus 1y plus 0z. So our y is -1. So the middle two rows, the middle row and the bottom row stay the same because those are answers. Now you go for a 0 in this column. What can you multiply? Yep, multiply by 2 and add it up. Okay? So the bottom two stay the same. Okay, multiply by 2 and add it up. Stays a 1, right? 2 times 1 would be 2 plus a -2, 0. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 0, 0. 2 times a -1, -2 plus 4, 2. Okay, and what answer is that? Yep, x equals 2. So now our ordered triple, we have 2, -1, what was z? 1. 2, -1, 1. Okay, 2, go all the way back up. 2, -1, 1. That should work in all three of them. So if you take and sub it back in, you'd have 2 plus 2 would be 4, plus 3 would be 7. 4 plus 3 is 7, yes. That'd be 4 plus a -1 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4, yeah, that works. And then -6 plus a -2 would be -8. -8 plus a plus 2 would be a -8 plus a -2 would be a -10. Yes, that works. Okay? Okay, so you basically are just using the x, y, and z's as placeholders. Use brackets. You pick a column. Do not go from column to column to column. Pick a column and get 2 zeros up and down. And if you have to, there will be times like we had to on this. You know, if you don't have any 1s and you got to get rid of something, it's like the elimination method. You got to get 2 of those to be opposite and then add them together. Right, you just multiply the first, when you do that, multiply across, you multiply across the row across. Not the first one. Yep, because I'm trying to get those 5 and the -4 to be opposites. Yep. Okay? Okay. The assignment, you guys, the assignment is, there's a sheet on iTunes U, but I went ahead and printed it out, so I'll give you that sheet. You could also work it on just regular notebook paper. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I need to tell you one more thing. One more thing. Okay, so that you know ahead of time. We're going to spend about 3 days going through these. Okay? And then listen up. Okay, then it's a 1-problem test. Listen. It's a 1-problem test. It's either a 0 or it's 100. Okay? Okay? Now listen. It's a 0 or it's 100. Okay? It's without calculators. Okay? And if you don't get it the first time, you keep coming in to take other matrices until you finally get it. So, what's that? No, endless time, no. 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 Probably about a week. Yeah, because otherwise it'll throw.
Like the whole class period.
Oh, yeah. 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 And if you make good enough notes, okay, then you can just. No. As you're working, like you can track back everything I did by the notes I did out at the side. Okay? You only have 2 choices on the matrices. You start over or you track it back. Okay, so you want to be able to track it back. Okay, but eventually all of you will end up with 100% on that test. It depends on how long you want to put it off, and as far as eligibility, that's up to you. Okay?
So that
okay?
one thing, does that count as your art?
Okay?